welcome to Miss Taylor's class notes. This is going to be a pretty lengthy video, so I'm probably going to split it up in two, do the first 2 pages in this one, and then do the next 2 pages in the next one. So, today we need to find the equation of a line for a perpendicular bisector. And a quick reminder that a perpendicular bisector is going to cut a line in half, and it's going to meet at a right angle. So, we're given P and we're given Q. So we need to find the midpoint of PQ. That's going to be the first step that we do. So our midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So when we do this, we're going to use our P and our Q that we're given. So negative 2 plus 4 over 2, and then 3 plus 1 over 2. So negative 2 plus 4 is going to become 2 over 2. 3 plus 1 is 4 over 2, and we simplify that to 1/2. So our midpoint is going to be 1/2. So the next thing that we need to do is, because we know we need a perpendicular line, we need to find the slope of PQ. So to find slope, we do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to plug in y2 is 1 minus 3 over 4 minus a negative 2. And when we do 4 minus negative 2, it's going to become 4 plus 2, because the double negatives becomes a positive. So 1 minus 3 is negative 2. 4 plus 2 is 6. So our slope is going to be a negative 1/3. But we want a perpendicular slope. So for a perpendicular slope, we need to flip our fraction. And since it's already negative, when we add a negative, it's going to be positive. So this is going to be the slope of our perpendicular line. So now we're going to take, that was 2 right there. And then finally, step 3. We're going to use the midpoint and our perpendicular slope, and we're going to write an equation. So we're going to use y equals mx plus b. So our midpoint is going to be our x and our y, and our 3 is going to be our m. So we're going to plug our 2 in here, as well as our slope times 1 plus b. So 3 times 1 is 3, so 2 equals 3 plus b. To move the 3 to the other side, we subtract, and we get a negative 1 for b. So now we're going to write our final equation, which is y equals. We're going to take our slope from right there, 3x, and then we're going to take our y-intercept from right there. And that is going to be our equation of a perpendicular bisector. All right, so again, I'm going to draw it, because drawing it always makes it a lot easier to understand. So we have a line AB. We need to create a perpendicular midpoint. So I'm going to call that C. So we need to find point C. So to do that, we need to use our midpoint formula. x1 plus x2 over 2. y1 plus y2 over 2. So negative 1 plus 3 gets us a 2 over 2. Negative 5 minus 1 gets us a negative 6 over 2. And so we get 1, negative 3 is going to be our midpoint. So now we need the slope. And so to get the slope, we're going to plug it in our slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So again, our double negatives turns it into a positive. Negative 2 plus 5 is going to be 3. 3 plus 1 is going to be 4. And so again, we need that perpendicular slope. So we're going to flip our fraction. And because it's positive, it's going to become negative. And now we have everything we need to use our y equals mx plus b. And we can plug in our midpoint, which is our x and our y, into our equation. And we can also plug in our slope, which is our m, into our equation. So negative 3 equals negative 4/3 times 1 plus b. So negative 3 equals negative 4/3, because 1 times anything is anything, plus b. Now we're going to add our 4/3, add 4/3, and we get a negative 3 would be 9/3, so we get a negative 5/3 equals b. And again, so now we have enough information to plug this into our equation. Y equals negative 4/3 x minus 5/3 b. Hold on a second. Oh, why in the world did I put negative 2? That should be 1. That should be 1. That should be 4. So it should have been a positive 1, which meant that this should have been a negative 1. That should have been a negative 1. And so we would have added 1. So it should have been 2. Sorry, guys. Y equals negative x minus 2. Brain's not working fully today. Sorry about that, guys. All right. So now we're going to talk about our circumcenter. So we need to remember that our circumcenter is perpendicular bisectors. So our circumcenter is where our 3 perpendicular bisectors meet. So just real quick, something that when we do this, it will help us make more sense of this and help us check it. If it's an acute triangle, our circumcenter is going to be inside. If it's a right triangle, our circumcenter is going to be on the triangle. And if it's an obtuse triangle, our circumcenter is actually going to be outside the triangle. So when we find the circumcenter, we need to find 2 perpendicular bisectors. Let me draw this in a different color. So we need to find 1 perpendicular bisector of our triangle, and then we need to find a second perpendicular bisector of our triangle, and then we need to find where that point meets. So we're going to find 2 equations of a line, and then we're going to solve the system of equations to find out what our x and y point P is. So because our circumcenter is our perpendicular bisectors, we need to find the midpoint of 2 of our sides. So I'm going to look at AB, and then I'm going to look at BC. So these are going to be the 2 midpoints that I find. PO. Come on, undo. Midpoint and BC midpoints. It's okay. It's one of those days. So for midpoint formula, it is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So that's going to give us 10 over 2, and it's going to give us 12 over 2, which gives us 5, 6. And so that is our AB midpoint. So now we need our BC midpoint. 8 plus 8 divided by 2, and then 6 plus 10 divided by 2. So we get 16 over 2 and 16 over 2, which is going to give us 8, 8 for our BC midpoint. So now we also need the slope of both sides because we need it to be perpendicular to these 2 sides of the triangle. So I need to find my AB slope, and I need to find my BC slope. So my AB slope, we're going to go y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And again, BC slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we know that 6 minus 6 is 0, and then 8 minus 2 is 6. We know that 10 minus 6 is 4, and 8 minus 8 is 0. So if we have a slope of 0 over 6, that is 0 slope. If we have a slope that is 4 over 0, that is undefined. 0 slope is perpendicular to undefined, and undefined is perpendicular to 0. So very quickly, what we know about undefined lines is undefined lines are equations that are x equals a number. 0 slope lines are lines that are y equals a number. So let's real quickly draw our triangle. Let's draw a triangle ABC. So if I need the perpendicular bisector of AB, if I have my midpoint and it's going to be x equals, I want the x value of my midpoint. And if I'm finding the perpendicular bisector of BC, I'm going to need the point of that midpoint. So if we're looking at AB to write an equation, I already know it's going to be x equals a number, so I'm going to go and I'm going to look what is the x value of my midpoint, which is on that line. So my equation is going to be x equals 5 for my midpoint, or for my perpendicular bisector right there. For BC, I know it's going to be y equals a number. So it's going to be y equals, and again, I'm looking at the y value of my midpoint because that's the line, that's the point that my perpendicular bisector must go through. So again, that line is that line right there. So if I have a line x equals 5, which is a vertical line, and I have a line x equals y, which is a horizontal line, the only spot that they can meet is where their 2 points are. And so our circumcenter is going to be at 5, 8, because that's the only place that these 2 lines will meet, is at 5, 8. All right, I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to start a new video and do those last 2 problems.